Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to write an imaginary number as a square root of a negative number. So the imaginary number that I'm going to use, the first one is 2i, 2i square root of 2. Okay, it is an imaginary number because you can see the imaginary unit I. Okay, so I want to write it as a single square root of a negative number. Okay, so what is going to be the radicand? Let's find out. So, like you say, so what I like to say, if you don't see any operation between two terms, assume it is multiplication. So here you have what? You're doing 2 times I times square root of 2. Okay, so the goal is to write everything as a single square root. Okay, so now you have the number 2. Okay, or the factor 2. So I want to rewrite 2 as the square root of a negative number. Okay, so you need to ask yourself, what is the perfect square? Which perfect square, when I take the square root of it, I get 2. Okay, it's going to be 2 squared, right? So how do we do it? I ask you to square, okay? Square the number, square it. So you're going to take 2 and you're going to square it, okay? Times, so now we know that I can be written as the square root of what number? Of negative 1. Now, alert. Okay, look here. The third factor is square root of positive 2. It has already a square root number. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it already has a symbol, the square root symbol. Okay. So you're not going to do square the 2. Why? Because the 2 already has a square root. So you're going to leave it alone. So this one is a negative. Okay. So I'm going to watch the square root of 2 for the last factor. Okay, so now we have three different square roots. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to write everything as a single square root. Why can I do this? It's because of you are using the operation of multiplication. Okay, so we cannot do that with addition or subtraction. I'm using a single square root because you are multiplying. So 2 square percent means it's 4. Okay, and then you have negative 1 times negative 1 right here. Okay, and then 2. So let's multiply. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times negative 1 is negative 8. So I can rewrite it as a square root of negative 8. Okay, so that's the final answer. Okay, so let's move on to number 2. Let's do number 2. And number 2, I'm going to ask, what is 3i square root of 5? So you want to rewrite it as a single square root of a negative number. So what number is going to be right here? Okay, let's find out. Please pause the video and try to do it by yourself. Okay, so I found the number by the new radicand is negative 45, or the square root of negative 45. So to rewrite 3 with the square root is going to be square root of 9. You square the 3, so it's 9. Why? Because the square root of 9 is 3. And then I can be written as the square root of negative 1, and square root of 5, you're going to leave it alone. Alert. Why? Because the 5 already have the square root, so you leave this alone. Okay, and then I rewrote those 3 different square roots with a single square root. Why? Because the operation of multiplication, we can do that. So I end up with 9 times negative 1 times positive 5 multiplied to negative 45. Okay. Okay, so let's do another one. So number 3, I have 6i equal the square root of what negative number? Okay, so I don't have a square root, okay, but it's the same process. So if you don't see any operation between two terms, assume it's multiplication. So it's 6 times I. So I want to rewrite 6 using a square root. So what perfect square when I square when I take the square root, I get 6. Yes, it's 36, or it's 6 squared. Remember, square it. Square the number or the factor. Okay. And then multiply by What? So the I can be written, I is defined as square root of -1. So I have two single square roots. So I can rewrite as a single square root. Why? Because you're using multiplication. We cannot do that if we add a plus here or minus. So 6 squared is 36. And 36 times -1 multiplied to -36. Okay, and that's the final answer. Okay, so let's move on to example number 4. Okay, what about 11i? How can you rewrite 11i as the square root of a negative number? Please pause the video and do that on your own. Okay, so I found the answer to be the square root of -121. How did I do that? Okay, 11 times I. 11 can be written as the square root of 11 squared, which is 121. Okay, and I can be written as the square root of -1. And then you have 121 times -1 is -121. So you have the square root of -121. Okay, for number 5, you have I, square root of 5. So I want to rewrite it as a single square root of a negative number. Okay, so remember, so you're going to be I times square root of 5. And we know that I can be written as the square root of -1 times the square root of 5. So we have two different square roots. I can rewrite as a single square root. Why? Because of multiplication. So I end up with -1 times 5. And -1 times 5 multiplied to -5. And that's your final answer. Square root of -5. Okay, so let's try number 6. Okay, what is I square root of 10 equal to? Okay, please pause the video and do the work. Okay, so I found the square root of -10. Okay, so remember, imaginary number is the square root of a negative number. Okay, and we know that I can be written as the square root of -1, and the two terms are separated by multiplication. So I can rewrite the two single square roots as a single square root, and I do -1 times 10 is -10. So the answer is square root of -10. Okay, so thank you for watching my video. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.